All right, it's been 3, 4, 5 days. Your pizza dough that we made earlier this week has been fermenting. It's been rising. It's been doing the thing that yeast does for a couple of days. Look how much that thing has risen. Let's get a good... Yeah, it's a nice kind of almost beer smell. It's almost like alcohol. It really is almost like alcohol. It's amazing. There's so much air in there. It's risen, and it's gotten so much good flavor that it wouldn't have gotten with, just kind of putting together something and then letting it sit there for a day. So what we're going to do today to let this prepped, this is about 2 hours before we're planning on, stretching this thing out, because it's still not quite ready. We're going to take this thing out of the bag, and we're going to let it proof. We're going to let it proof on the counter in a bowl. So what we're going to try to do, first of all, I think that this is a really nice amount, but if you want to make like a chicken roll or you want to make garlic knots, you could take this time, right now, to cut off a little bit of it and do something else. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut a portion of it, tear it away. I'm going to use this to make like a chicken roll for my son. And this is probably too much, so I'll probably make a chicken roll and some garlic knots. So again, we're going to do the experiment where we roll it in on itself. Okay, like a little mozzarella ball. And this is going to rise again, and then we're ready for showtime. Okay. Nice. Good. Get it coated. Good. All right. Now, important. We're going to put some extra virgin olive oil into the bowl. What's going to happen is this is going to give it like a liquidy covering. If you don't do this, the outside's going to get dry and it's going to develop a film during the second proofing, and that's okay. It's not what you want. All right, let's cover this with a damp rag, and then we'll come back in 2 hours. Time for the fun part. Let's see how much the dough has proofed in the 2 hours that we have set it aside. That is beautiful. Perfect, 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 perfect. And this is the side that I set aside for the pizza roll. No, not the pizza roll, the chicken roll I'm going to make. All right, get your dough, get your flour on the cutting board. And here's how we're going to do it. We want to keep it a circle as much as you can. We want to work from the inside. We want to create the traditional crust on the outside that you grab and you associate with New York pizza. So we're kind of pushing from the middle using both hands to stretch it. Okay, we're going to do this a couple of times around. Until the dough just kind of gives up, because right now it's trying to keep form. Okay, we're going to flip it. Same thing. Okay, then we can start playing with it like this. Just go knuckle to knuckle, kind of stretching it as you go, and then you grab the other end like this, you stretch it. I'm getting this on video. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, so you're grabbing it with your knuckles like this, and you're just pulling, but you're keeping that integrity of where that crust area is, so you're not touching that. And we want to stretch this out just ever so gently until we get about 12 inches, 13 inches, right? It's a healthy dough. The center is like opaque. You could kind of see through it, But you definitely know there's integrity there. It's not going to tear. Okay, so you want to get this to about 13 inches and just stretching gently. You don't want to get the middle too thin though. Okay, so I think we still got some ways to go. Okay, let's let it rest for a minute. That's a decent size. We're gonna let this kind of settle for a second and then let it rest. Now on my pizza peel, the secret ingredient we're gonna use here is semolina flour. Semolina flour is gonna act like ball bearings on this thing because the idea is you're gonna put it on top of the pizza stone, lift it up like this, and pull it out. It's not going to do that. It's going to stick to this, especially if it gets a little warm. So these help them slide right out onto the peel. And hopefully you don't make a big mess. I've been there before. I have made a mess. That's plenty. That's way too much, actually. But, yeah, let's put some of this back. There's on video. My wife is going to kill me. There we go. That's plenty. More is better than less. You don't want too much on the bottom. You don't want to make it ridiculous because you don't want to really taste this. All right, that's good. All right, back to here. Let's stretch this around a little bit more, and then we're going to build our pizza while it's on the peel. Sorry, I'm alone doing this. I don't have a partner helping me. Okay, I'm starting to get a little hole kind of in the middle. That's okay. You don't want that, but that's okay. It's going to cook together. It'll all bubble up. All right, let's put this onto the peel. Okay, and let's test it. It's moving. That's fine. That's what you want. You don't want it to stick. If it sticks, you got a problem. All right, let's work a little bit fast. The first thing we do is put the sauce. The sauce that we made in the second video. Put a nice glob of it right in the middle. And let's see how much we get across. You want to go circle, kind of, it doesn't matter clockwise or counterclockwise, but you want enough to cover the entire pizza up until where the crust is going to go. You don't want too much, but definitely want enough. It's frustrating to hear that when you're trying to learn something, like how much is too much, how much is enough. You'll get it eventually. I think this is a good amount. I don't think you need to put too much. Okay, hopefully that comes across in the video. The basil, I leave there. I'm fine with it. The secret I have for the cheese, let's talk about the cheese for a minute. I put this cheese in the freezer after I grated it. This is Polly-O cheese. It's whole milk cheese. The reason I shredded it myself, I avoid the pre-shredded stuff that you get in the store in the bags because it has like cornstarch on it to keep it fresh and to keep it from, globbing up from on one another, and that makes it melt really weird. So I always avoid that stuff when I'm making like a homemade pizza, or really anything. I avoid that stuff all the time. So this is a good amount of cheese. I like the whole fat, the whole milk cheese. The problem with whole milk cheese is that it's really wet, and the home oven, the oven that I have in the kitchen, it doesn't get hot enough to really melt this. It makes it like a pool of water, and then the dough is done, and it's kind of messy. So what I do to avoid that is I freeze the cheese, so the cheese melts slower. And this is just some sausage. And because the cheese melts slower and the bread gets to where it needs to get to, the dough, I should say, quicker, it kind of just arrives in time. You'll see what I'm cooking. This is just actually some Italian sausage. I'm going to throw this on. I had this in the fridge. I just cooked it up in the toaster oven. Okay, there's no rhyme or reason there. And let's get some basil, make it look pretty. Yes, I've got a basil plant. Some people only like this. My wife only likes this after it's cooked, the fresh basil. I'll let it cook in there. All right, let's turn around and put it in the oven. Here I go. You only get one chance at this. Let's test again, make sure this guy moves. He moves perfect. Whoops, I got him off the wrong side. You put it right on the spit, lift up. Perfection. Absolute perfection. So what I'm gonna do now, this has been on for 550 degrees for an hour. The stone is hot enough to cook it by itself. So what I'm going to do is take it off bake. I'm going to start the broiler. Now the broiler is going to cook the top. Okay, we're about 4 minutes in. It's looking really good, but because it's using the broiler and there's one unit in the middle, we're going to rotate this 90 degrees. So I don't have a metal pizza steel. That's the way you would do this. I'm going to take this as best I can with one hand and just go under and carefully. Excuse me. Okay. I tried to get as much of that on camera as I could, but I turned to 90 degrees. All right, so this was all one take. If you let it go too long, it might burn a little bit. That's fine. That's fine. In a real pizza oven, maybe with a coal oven, it'll have like much more like bubbles and like a really nice texture. This is gonna taste just fine. It doesn't look amazing because it was cooked in a kitchen, you know, kitchen stove with just a broiler. So this black is all kind of uniform and it looks a little bit suspicious, but that's fine. It's gonna taste perfectly fine. A chiffonade of basil, a little bit of Parmigiano Reggiano, and if you are feeling really sexy, just a little bit of extra virgin olive oil on top. Okay, you are off to the races. Let's cut it and see what it looks like. More importantly, what it tastes like. I bet you can hear that. All right, what I'm going to look for is, look at that, look at those bubbles. That's what you're looking for. It's a little soggy in the middle because I put the toppings on it. So there's a way to fix that. It's less time in the broiler and maybe a minute cooked on the steel before you put the broiler on. I think that's what I'll do next time. But bon appetit, New York pizza. Back, this is what I would have done a little bit differently. Number one, I would have put the pizza onto the steel or the stone and not turned on the broiler for at least a minute. I would have let the underside get a little bit more crisped up and cooked, and then work on the top. You see, the color is nice. The color is nice. It could have used like 30 seconds, honestly, just on the stone with the oven on at 550, the hottest the oven gets. And then I would have turned on the broiler. That would have eliminated this kind of soggy middle. When you reheat this, like if you don't look, like actually that's not bad at all. Like I'm holding it, like that's okay. This is fine for a home pizza. That's partly because the topping was there, making it heavy, and the the fat and stuff running off the sausage to the middle. The middle was kind of thin, which is not, again, not bad. But it's because it didn't get enough time underneath to cook and kind of really go solid. So I would, one, cook it for a minute at 550 before turning the broiler on, and then reduce, and watch and monitor. You don't want to burn the top. So I would just adjust the timing. And secondly, I would have put the topping, I would put the sauce a little bit, I like a little bit less crust and a little bit more of the action over here. So I would have made the crust a little bit smaller. That's while I'm rolling out and spreading the sauce. And then I would have cooked it a little bit differently. But otherwise, this is a really, really, really good tasting pizza. Take a look at that. You don't get that. You don't get that in a home kitchen unless you do it this way. Bon appetit. Thank you.